Hey, back, it's me, Ian. And in today's video, we're continuing with our look at Hammer Film Productions. And this is Let Me In from 2010. Yes. This is, I think, quite an underrated film. It has divided opinion for various reasons, which I might go into. But I really enjoyed it. I think it's great. You could describe it as a romantic horror film, and it just works so well. But people will argue definitely that it's not as good as the first one, the Swedish version, in 2008. But you're always going to get that, I think. Anyhow, it's 116 minutes long. It's Rotten Tomatoes give it 88%. There is quite at the time, so a lot of critics either loved it or they didn't, but that's quite a high score. But yeah, I always say it, but why do we bother with Rotten Tomatoes? I don't know. It's just a way of looking at opinion, I think, even though it shouldn't. Anyhow, the screenplay is by Matt Reeves, and it's based on Let the Right One In by John Ajavide Lindqvist. This is Swedish pronunciations there. And he also wrote the screenplay for the Swedish 2008 version, Let the Right One In. That's a very interesting film, and which I've never seen by all accounts. So I'm judging by this film and what I'm seeing. Now, it's directed by Matt Reeves. Matt Reeves is a very interesting writer, director, producer. 2008 Cloverfield he directed. He directed Dawn of the Planet of the Apes. 2014. 2017 he directed War for the Planet of the Apes. And then in recent years he directed, yes, The Batman of 2022, which was a very interesting take on Batman. Again, that kind of divided opinion. I rather liked it, actually. I thought it was another take on the Batman. I like saying that, the Batman. Anyhow, he's a director. He's a good director, definitely. Now, the cast, we've got Cody Smith McPhee playing Owen. He was in Dawn of the Planet of the Apes, 2014. He was also in some X-Men film. He was in X-Men Apocalypse, 2016. He was in Dark Phoenix, the X-Men film, 2019. And he was in Elvis, 2022, which was another interesting film. Again, it's interesting because that film sat and divided people as well. But yeah, there we are. Then we've got Chloe Grace Moretz playing Abby. I probably pronounced that slightly wrong, but anyhow. She was a child actress. 2003, she was in Amityville Horror. That was a very early film. Then she was in both Kick-Ass films, 1 and 2. The 2010 Kick-Ass and 2013 Kick-Ass. She was also in the first Equalizer, 2014. And now this is interesting, because again we get parallels. She was in the 2018 Suspiria film. Now, there's an example of a film that's considered a sequel, though it's in name, but it is very different in many ways as well. There are some sequels, but it's one that is really good. I'm not going to say it's the pinnacle like Suspiria is, but it is an excellent film which I love, and I think is really good actually. She was in that, so interesting parallels there. Then we've got Eliza Coates playing the detective. He was in 1997 Gattaca. He was in 2010 Shutter Island. A lot of TV work, but there were just a couple of films that I picked out. Then we've got Cara Buono, who plays Owen's mother. She notably was in the 2003 version of Hulk. Yes, yes, there we are. And she is, I think, more famously known in the TV series Stranger Things, which is ongoing. It's still going. That was started in 2016. She's in that. Yes. All right. And then we've got Richard Jenkins playing Thomas. He's the companion who is seen as the father, to the world, but he's actually a companion. And he's got an interesting filmography. 1987, he was in Witches of Eastwick. 2012, he was in The Cabin in the Woods. 2015, now, The Bone Tomahawk. Very interesting film, that one, as we know. And then he was in The Shape of Water, which is quite popular. That was 2017. A lot of TV and theatre work. He goes back. He's got a massive CV, really, of work. There he is. So, that is the cast. It was filmed in New Mexico, Los Alamos. And the music is interesting. That was music by Michael Giacchino, I think that's how you pronounce it again, who won an Oscar for his work on Up 2009. But he also is a director as well, and he directed Marvel Studios' Werewolf by Night 2022, so he's quite up to date as well. So this take on vampires is fantastic. I think it's another new look again. I love the way that the vampire genre develops in so many ways. It's great. Now, this is set in a small town in New Mexico. And this boy, Owen, he's bullied a lot at school. It's sad and heart-wrenching watching it as well, because I think a lot of people have come across that and have experienced it as well, and it's awful. So he's quite a lonely lad, and his parents are breaking up as well. They're in a breakup, divorce situation. His father, you don't see, you only hear him on the telephone. A bullied boy, he certainly is, and hurting so much. And also what's going on in his personal life. And he comes across a new neighbour that has moved in the form of a girl who seems to be about his age, 12 years old. She's called Abby. And he develops a relationship in terms of his friendship. He's so lonely. And they get to know each other. And that builds up into a romantic relationship. I love how the way you see him reading Romeo and Juliet, and I think that's wonderful. We see that, and we see a clip from Romeo and Juliet, and you get that sort of feeling about this relationship, because Romeo and Juliet, as you know, is a tragic, wonderful Shakespeare story, fantastic, and you get that feeling about this already. Now, Abby lives with what people think he's her father, but he's not her father. He's a companion who she's known for a long time. In fact, similar age as going back with Owen. And that, you see that, and you suddenly start to click it all together. So how the story develops is, of course, the need for blood that Abby has, and how it's going to affect what goes on in the neighborhood, because Thomas has to go out and get the blood for her, which involves getting victims and killing them. And this is where all this happens. And I'm not going to go right into the story because I think it will spoil it. It's great just to watch the story develop and what happens as the consequences of all this and all the situations that they get forced into as well. It's a beautiful film. And I think that's what I like horror in many ways as a genre, because it's so big in its scale of what it can do. And this, you do get a romantic side. Some people I know don't like that romantic side. But it may have that romantic side, but it doesn't pull any punches in terms of the blood and gore. And that aspect, the reality of this is clearly seen. And the consequences as well. So it isn't all hairy-fairy at all. Far from it. In fact, it's really a dark tale, because it is a dark tale. Because, there's a kind of inevitability. It's almost like a feeling that things really are not going to work out how you wish they would. And the film offers that at the end, but then there's this sort of tragic Romeo and Juliet situation as well. So that's what. So when we call it romantic horror, this is very much a good example of when it is done right, when it is not done in a sentimental way. Far from it, and it's good. It's still brutal as well, and I think that has to be seen. We see that brutality much as well, and the suffering that is involved in all this is amazing. I mean, the film is so well directed. It's beautiful to look at, and the way the makeup and effects are done as well. And as a director, like the car crash scene, he directs, is brilliantly directed. And I say, the acting of all the cast is great. I mean, it's a really great film. It seems to me it's got a bad deal because there's kind of this snobbery saying that a remake, it's a remake and it's not as good as the Swedish version. Sometimes you wonder how many people have actually seen the Swedish version. I would like to see it. I would certainly see it. And it's interesting that Lindqvist, the Swedish writer of the novel and the screenplay of the film, actually was very pleased with this version. Now, nobody's mentioned that much. He was very pleased. And he thought it was a good version. He really enjoyed it. He liked, obviously, the Swedish one, which he was involved in the film. But he thought this was a good American horror film. And it is. It is. Even Stephen King has even praised this film as well. It's had a lot of praise, as much as the negativity of the sort of people. And personally, you should just enjoy a film for what it is, even, no matter what the critics say. And they don't get it right all the time at all. And I don't like snobbery. And if you sometimes get this snobbery, about films. And no, enjoy this. This is Hammer, a film that you wish they'd have done more of, because really they haven't done enough of these kind of films since, they started remaking films again. You kind of wish they would make more films like this. I've thoroughly enjoyed this, and it's really is highly recommended. Yeah, definitely. Now, here is my copy on Blu-ray. It's got a nice slipcover there, as you can see, slipcover, and it's got some really nice features as well, extras, some good documentaries, interviews with relevant people, showing you lots of about connected with the film. I think it's a great value one. I don't think it's always that expensive either. I think you can get hold of this quite cheaply. But I really enjoyed it. It's a film you can watch and watch. In fact, I'll be honest, I'm quite moved by this story. I think it's a very moving story, and if these actors, these young actors, can do that, then that says a lot about their acting, and that the director is able to bring that out of them. Fantastic. So that's it. I hope you've enjoyed this video. If you're new to the channel, please subscribe, and we'll let you know when I produce these videos. Also, if you like this, please give it a like. It all helps with algorithms, so that hopefully more people might get to know like my videos. I probably won't. And it all costs note. And if you've got any comments, please put your comments down. I'd love to hear your opinion, see what you think about these things. I really do love to hear from you. Thank you so much for doing that. And that's it. All I've got to say is, I'll see thee again.